Okay, welcome to this little video that I'm putting together for primarily for my social sciences faculty, but I'm going to include enough generic information in it for anybody to use if they want to create graded discussions. At this point, we're transitioning most of our classes into an online format due to COVID-19 pandemic, and therefore, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for faculty who have not taught online before to create online discussions in lieu of their classroom time. So if you want to have some dialogue, asynchronous dialogue, not video to video, but you post discussions and students can post replies to your prompt, and you can then go in later and interact with your students that way. And the way we do that usually in online classes is there's a expectation that students will both respond to your reply, but they will also read other people's replies and respond to at least two of them. And I'll be getting into that in just a moment. So this video is going to show my faculty how to transition using the resources that I've already created in the course books for our courses in social sciences. So part of this won't apply to some of you viewing this video, but I'll show you how to get that information out of the course books, create your discussions, and then add the grading rubric to them. So what you see here is my portal into Blackboard and the courses I'm teaching, and I'm going to look at developmental psych. It's a place that it's a face-to-face class that I need to transition myself into online learning. So if I click on developmental psych and we come into the course here, and there's my little restructure quiz that I put in there, and here is the course navigator. We're going to look at that at the end because we're going to have to make some modifications to the course navigator. All the face-to-face classes do not include the graded discussions as part of the expectations within the course navigator, and so we'll be editing that in just a little bit. But for now, let's look at the course navigator, and we'll see that here we have spring break and then the extended spring break, and starting on March 23rd when we come back, we're going to be looking at Chapter 5 and Chapter 6. I've moved some stuff around here. So right now, because it's a face-to-face class, there's only a quiz for Chapter 5 and the quiz for Chapter 6, and then some time spending reviewing that special assignment. Chapter 5 has a couple discussions now because we're transitioning to online. So in the structure of our classes, we go over to the content section, and that brings us here to all the different folders for each one of the chapters in our course. We're going to look at Chapter 5, and you'll see that it's referencing here to read the course book, and here's our Chapter 5 quiz. So we go into edit mode. So now I can add things here, and I go into tools, and this is where you're going to find the tool to create a discussion. So you simply go tools, discussion board, and you can do this anywhere in the class, any folder or whatever. You can do this. In social sciences, I embed them in the respective folder, and you can see the existing. I'm going to actually create a new forum here because the online ones are not there. So I go to create new forum, and I'm given this interface. At this point, we need to go look at the course book. So on my Mac, I'm able to have, these are all the course books for the department here. I go into the course book for developmental psych, and I go to my index, and I want to go to Chapter 5, and let's get through all this. This is all the stuff here. Let's get to the assessment section here. All right, we're in the assessment section. Move myself out of the way. And in the assessment section, see, we have two discussions. If you've been teaching this face-to-face, you've been telling your students to ignore this part of the course book and just focus on Chapter 5 if they're on the Chapter 5 quiz, or if there's an assignment or whatever. So now you have the opportunity to use these. So here's the actual text cell for Chapter 5 discussion. So we have learned that physical fitness and exercise impacts academic performance, etc., etc. So I'm about to create this discussion in the actual course, and so I can simply copy all of this. I go back into Blackboard, and the name, I'm going to use the same name that's in the course book, so I'm going to say Chapter 5 Discussion A. And then in the description, I'm going to paste that. This is the actual discussion. So a little bit more to do as we do this, and make sure to keep this in your memory in this, because we're going to paste that again. I'm getting messages from the president here. So I want to make it available. In terms of settings, I go to Grade Discussion Forum, and I click Grade Discussion Forum. And then for all the social sciences classes, even though your class has been face-to-face, built into the interface is a grading rubric for online discussions. So you go to Add Grading Rubric, and you want to select the grading rubric, and you will see the list of grading rubrics are all here. These are all the ones that are already built into the class. And lo and behold, we have a discussion grading rubric. Click that, and I press Submit. And it's going to ask me, do I want to match the points of the discussion with the grading rubric, which is based on 0 to 100. So I say yes. And then the grading rubric has been attached to that discussion. I go into Show Rubric to Students. We, of course, want them to know what we expect of them. And then we go all the way down to the default buttons are all set. That's going to be cool. We press Submit. And what we've done is actually created a discussion in the Blackboard course. It will appear already in this link of discussions, but I also, because of the way we organize our classes, we want the discussion itself to appear in the Chapter 5 folder itself, because that's where we're telling students to go get the quizzes and the discussions and assignments for each one of our chapters. So it's now saying select a discussion board form. It is pre-selected Chapter 5 Discussion A, the one I just did, and I press Next. Now this interface looks very similar as it pops up here. Maybe lots of people are doing this right now. Turn my Wi-Fi off here because I have Ethernet access. Okay, so bringing me to this discussion board again. Now I'm going to repaste, it's in my memory right now, I'm going to repaste that into this interface here because I did it in the original discussion board, and now I'm adding that description to the link that's inside of the chapter folder. Make it available. All the defaults are fine. I press Submit, and it brings me back to that Chapter 5 folder that we just looked at. And you'll see now the Chapter 5 quiz, the Chapter 5 discussion is right there. So when students perceive this, let's go into non-edit mode. Students, when they go into this area, will now see references to the course book. They'll see the Chapter 5 quiz. And now they see the Chapter 5 discussion A. Now I need to add Chapter 5 discussion B, and that will complete the posting of that particular discussion. Now, for the sake of academic freedom, I am giving my faculty the opportunity, if they want to use different discussions that are more in line with what they were doing in their live classes, then these are much more in line with what's in the course book and the way I teach the class. You are free to construct your own discussions and use these at will. Just make sure that you are very clearly communicating that to students. Students are still going to that course book. They're still looking at what's there. So if you're going to be using things that are different from the course book, make sure that you're very clear about that, and that you include discussions in every single chapter. That will be the expectation from now on until the end of the semester under these online expectations. This does increase a little bit of the online workload for both students and you. You will see graded discussions appear in the needs to be graded part of the grade book, and so you will be able to go in and then grade those at the end of each week, and participation in those discussions becomes part of their attendance grade. And that's another thing too, as you're moving from face-to-face to online, we're going to be taking all of those attendance grades that have been a portion of the class, and now we're just adding to those our grades in discussions. So each one of those grades is going to count like a single date of attendance. So if you've been tracking that in a book in order to create a grade for that at the end of the semester, just continue to put those grades in. The discussion grades alone count for attendance. Now, for those of you who don't have the social science rubric, and it doesn't include that, you don't have the social sciences template in Blackboard, and doesn't include that rubric, I'm going to be sending that out to the campus. And to import that rubric is as simple as going to your course tools. You go down to rubrics, and then you simply import rubric from wherever you downloaded it onto your computer. Then it will appear in that list of rubrics when you go to get rubric, when you're creating the discussion. It'll be one of them, and just select those. That rubric is based on a point dispersion of 50 points for the main post, 20 points for each of the reply posts, and 10 points for mechanics and spelling and all that stuff. So, and it's that they're all buttons, and there's a 3-column configuration of that rubric where everything is all set, and then some things are off, so the partial credit, and then either it was horrible or they didn't do it, and you have the one on the end with the zeros in it. So so I know this is a bunch of extra work for all of you. We have a lot of classes in social sciences that are going from face-to-face to online. I really can't do this alone. I'm really depending on you to go into each one of your classes, open up that course book, and start making all of these discussions for the rest of the week. My understanding is there's some conversations with the systems office about our contracts or something like that, and I don't know where any of that is right now, but certainly the focus right now is to get our work out there to students who are kind of freaking out. I've already heard from a few and wondering what things are going to be like, and they didn't sign up for this online thing, so we're trying to make this as seamless as possible. My expectation is that you would make a choice as to how you want to participate in online discussions. There's 2 very valid models. One is leave them alone and let them work this out as a class. And certainly it relieves you from the burden of having to go in and respond and whatnot. Certainly monitor the discussion and make sure that nobody's being rude or inconsiderate of a diversity of ideas. And the other model is a very active participation, as if you'd be leading a class discussion where you're going in and you're moderating and asking questions and whatnot. Both models are very valid. They have a lot of research on both of them, so I'm leaving that to you. At different times, I've used different models, sometimes depending on my own personal workload, making that decision, and I've seen very positive outcomes on each side. So again, I appreciate all your efforts and everything you're doing in the department. I really appreciate this effort that you're going to be putting into creating discussions. And if there's any questions, do not hesitate to get in contact with me and with any questions that you might have about this process. So stay safe, stay distant, and wash your hands.